Hello my friends and welcome back to another video here on The Faith Life with me, Kev. I hope that you are all keeping really well and that you're not going too insane with all this lockdown stuff. And yeah, just hope that you are looking after yourselves and watching out for each other as well. In today's video, we are going to be starting to look at the topics, subjects, comments, whatever you want to call it, that you guys have been putting into me. Today's one, we're going to be starting off looking at, drumroll, Christian dating. Now this is actually quite a big topic and I don't want these videos to be like super duper duper long. So what we're actually going to do is with each of the things that you guys want to talk about, we're going to break it down into kind of subtopics, if you like, so that we cover them in a few videos and then we'll move on to the next topic and again probably cover that in a few videos, etc, etc, because I don't want the videos to be really long, but I do want to do justice to the things that you want to be talking about. So today we're talking about Christian dating. Now if you're not a Christian and you're watching this, don't click off because there might be some really helpful things for you to be thinking about in terms of your own dating life and yeah, watching out for yourself basically. So today we are looking at dating in brackets Christian, and specifically what I want to focus on is actually being single. I think there is it seems to be almost like a stigma attached to being single. It's like you are not, you're not at your full potential unless you're in a relationship. And basically, I want to say that is a load of rubbish. If you're sat there and you are single, then good on you. I myself, I am married. I love my wife. It's great. But equally, there are stuff that there's stuff you can't do when you're married that you can do when you're single. Like I can't just go and go on a holiday by myself. I can't just I can't just be like, oh, I'm going to book next week off and I'm going to go to such and such place, because I need to check with the wife that that's okay, make sure that we've got the money to be able to do that, joint incomes and all this sort of stuff. But if you're single, you know what you were earning in, you know what your outcomes are, you can just off you go, jobs are good. And that kind of also extends to all areas of life, really. When it comes to planning stuff, you need to make sure that you haven't, if you're not single, you've got to make sure that you're not double booking yourself with something that your other half has planned. But when you're single, you can be like, oh, well, I know I'm free, so I can go and do this stuff. So what I really want to say is, today we're going to be talking about being single and actually how that's not necessarily a bad thing. In a moment, we're going to look into the Bible, because Paul, who was one of the apostles and wrote quite a lot of the New Testament, actually speaks on being single. He himself was single, and to kind of paraphrase, he basically turns around and says, being single is actually really good, but if you can't be single and you find yourself lusting after the opposite sex, then you should marry, basically is what he says. We'll actually look at the actual passage in a moment. But what I really want to draw out of that is what he's saying is it's good to be single. Like, especially if we look at it from a Christian perspective, if you're single, then you can devote time to your faith and to God, and you can ask God what he wants you to do. And it could be something crazy, like he might say, go and be a missionary in Africa, for example. And if you're single, you can just kind of, once all the plans and preparations in place, you can just go for it. Like, off you go to Africa. If you are in a relationship, whether you're married or it's just boyfriend, girlfriend, or you're engaged, whatever it may be, you can't just go and do that. Like, you have to consult your other half and be like, yo, I feel like God's telling me I need to go to Africa. But then if your other half's like, actually, I feel like God's telling me I'm supposed to be a teacher in a secondary school in England, then you're like, oh, what do we do there? So what I really want to get across is, don't feel that you are worse off if you have not got a partner, because actually you have got so much that you can do. I think it's tricky for Christians because if you believe in what the Bible says, then there are obviously varying degrees of what people think about different topics. Me personally, I think that the Bible is fairly clear that sex should be saved for marriage. Now, obviously, some of you watching this are not going to be Christian. You'll be like, oh, whatever. And some of you may be Christian, but you don't agree with that opinion and, you know, that thought process, that's absolutely fine. I believe that's what the Bible says, and so that's what I believe. So if you agree with that belief, then that means if you're single, then you may not have sex for your whole life, potentially. And yes, that is a pretty sucky thing, but actually God is going to use you in ways that are way, way, way better than you just sort of having some sexy time. Do you know what I mean? So that shouldn't be a driving force either for like wanting to get into a relationship and wanting to get married and all this sort of stuff, because it's like a part of marriage, but it's not like the whole thing. It's not like you get married and like everything revolves around sex. Like marriage is more about a deep bond with somebody else, and it might be that if you're single, that you can actually have really deep relationships with people and impact their lives in ways that you couldn't have done if you were married. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to read the bit that Paul wrote so that I don't completely butcher it anymore. So let's just turn to the Bible and see what that says real quick. So from 1 Corinthians 7 from verse 8. Now to the unmarried or single and the widows I say it is good for them to stay unmarried or single, as I do. But if they cannot control themselves, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So you see what Paul is saying here is actually he lived his life being single, and he was able to do incredibly amazing things for God. Like he spread the good news about Jesus like so many places, and he planted so many churches, and it's kind of what made the church become what it is today. And he's actually saying, it's because I was single that I was I didn't have any other distractions, or I could kind of just listen to what God wanted me to do, and I could just go and do it. Now he is very clear that if we're going to find ourselves being, I think what it says is burn with passion, then we should marry. So obviously, if we feel that we're going to be overcome by the kind of sexual urges and feelings, then we should find a partner and marry. But for those of you that are watching this that are single, God can use you. Even if you don't believe, even if you're watching this and you're not a Christian, it doesn't mean that God still can't use you. That might be a scary thought for some of you, but God still may use you in your singleness and in your life. So just take real encouragement from that, and don't feel that you need to rush into finding that other half. If God's plan for you is for you to get married, then he is going to have somebody lined up for you that is going to be amazing. But for some of you, that might not be the case. But that shouldn't be a sad thing. That should be something that you can be like, okay, well, it's not what I wanted, but I'm going to be single. And then you can look forward and be like, okay, what can I do with my life that is going to impact other people for the better? And it's going to be amazing. Now, I've actually spoken much longer than I wanted to, because I wanted to keep the video fairly short, because I want to try and do this in segments. So we're not going to, I'm sure you're sat there thinking, what about X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. We are going to cover relationships in varying capacities, so don't worry. We're going to talk about, when you're actually dating, what does that look like? We've kind of touched on the sex before marriage, but we'll go into that a bit more detail and all that sort of stuff. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. I just wanted to talk on the singleness kind of aspect of relationships, because I feel like it's not spoken about enough, and I don't want people to be sat there thinking, well, I'm not in a relationship, so does that mean that I'm less or whatever? No, not at all. God can use you powerfully, so believe in that. But thank you all for watching. As I say, I hope it was helpful. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a big old thumbs up, because that support really, really, really does help. I can't tell you how much. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. We are over halfway to the 100 subscriber mark, which will give us a sweet custom YouTube link for everybody to be able to click on, which will make the channel much easier for people to find. So if you haven't subscribed, please do consider doing that. As always, you can follow me on the social links. You'll find Facebook and Instagram down below, so please do drop a like and a follow over there to stay up to date with the channel. And that is it from me for this one, guys. I hope that you are all still keeping really well and looking after yourselves, and I will catch you all on the next one, my friends. Goodbye.